my own personal feeling is when we talk about coaching in particular, I see team coaching as the future of the coaching world. And we'll touch on AI, I'm sure, as part of our conversation, but coaching is not excluded to the AI introduction.
You have this, you have a great idea, you start a startup, but what do you need next? Next, you need someone who will actually take your ideas, those crazy, unframed ideas, and create a plan, a strategy, how you can implement them, create a vision. Yeah, there are teams that you need to have on the team.
Yeah.
And Game Changer can actually help you find those people on the team, because if you need some like a resource investigator, that's most probably a playmaker energy, is the logical optimist. I do believe AI can really make a change, a positive change in the way we work.
Welcome, team, to this week's podcast. We're going to be discussing a really fascinating topic, and it's fairly commonplace across the world now. We're talking about remote teams and the reality that these teams present both, I want to say, unique opportunities as well as challenges, particularly for leaders who are probably striving for that high performance value creation in their teams. So we'll be exploring the power of systemic team coaching as one of the crucial approaches for developing a cohesive, agile, let's say innovative remote team, and how focusing on integrated strategies that elevate team dynamics, as well as collaboration, accountability, and all the other good things, allows the leader to unlock their remote team's full potential. I know it's a lot, but we're fortunate today to have a colleague of mine, actually, a systemic coaching or systemic team coaching colleague, here to help us unpack the topic as well. We're going to understand some of the tools and techniques that she's introduced and is using as part of her practice. So with all of that said, let's welcome Ms. Daria Rudnik as our guest today, as we delve into some of the methodologies and insights for driving exceptional remote team success. So Daria, welcome to the ET project.
Thanks, Wayne. It's great to be here and sharing my passion.
Yeah, I apologize that we delayed this recording last week. We had a little family emergency we had to deal with ahead of our recording, so we pushed it back a week. So thank you for making yourself available. As we always do, I wonder if you wouldn't mind just kicking off with a little bit of background and what led you into the field that you're in now.
Yeah, well, my background is in HR and organizational development. I was chief people officer for mostly tech and telecom companies. And through my work, I was dealing with mergers and acquisitions, setting up offices in other countries, cultural transformations. And I've noticed one thing, that things that unites like all of those transformational projects, when companies grow, when companies go through crisis, when they have strong teams, or those parts of organizations that have strong teams, they keep these employees through the challenging times. They produce greater results, and they feel better. Whenever we have a strong team, whether it's an executive team, or product team, or project team, or functional team, those parts of organizations are always feeling better, performing better. And since that, I want to create more great teams, because I truly believe that teamwork actually makes us better humans, better people. And yeah.
Very nice. My own personal feeling is when we talk about coaching in particular, I see team coaching as the future of the coaching world. And we'll touch on AI, I'm sure, as part of our conversation, but coaching is not excluded to the AI introduction. And I think there will be some point in time where AI sort of moves into the one-on-one coaching, as it already is, but to a larger extent. I think team coaching could be a way off, though. It seems to the nature of team coaching is a little bit more intricate and difficult to deal with. And I think it's a little way away before AI could possibly take that on. So let's
agree.
cross that discussion when we get to it later. But so if I'm correct in understanding, you've been in the industry or doing what you're doing for around 15 years. I can imagine you've seen a lot of changes, particularly within leadership and in the way that teams operate today. And your focus, if I'm correct, is primarily in tech and finance sectors. So is there anything that jumps out when you think back over that period that really stands out as a significant change or shift in this time?
What I see as a significant shift is that people became mindful about how they want to feel at work.
Right.
Like more and more, I hear people saying, "I want to do something meaningful. I want to understand how my work like creates meaning for the organization. I want to work for the organization that is ethical. I want to make something good in life, not just making money, not just building the career, not just working." Like I remember like the early days of my career, let's just work. We can do that. There was kind of part of competition, part of ambition, part of just drive of doing things. But more and more I hear people saying not just work, but meaningful work.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I would concur with that. I think there is that real mindset shift and personal aspiration shift to doing more meaningful things. To that extent, I see that you're a member of the Forbes Council, and I read a number of your articles that you write. What inspired you to get involved with the council, and how does that help with the work you're doing?
There's so many things I want to share. And I'm trying to do that through my LinkedIn profile, like through some videos, through the book I'm writing. But I want to kind of structure. I'm a person of structure. I love structure. I want to structure my thoughts. Here is what I think about meetings. Here is what I think about psychological safety. Here is what I think about teams and different aspects of teamwork. And like writing those articles every month actually helps me discipline myself in putting my thoughts into a written format so that I can easily share it with my clients, with people who want to read about it, and getting more clarity. When I write, I have more clarity about how do I articulate that? How do I really think about it? How do I really feel about that? So that was the main reason.
Yeah, and some of the articles are great, by the way. So well done on that. I personally find also that when I write about situations, I do a lot of case study reflection, as I see in some of your work, and that reflection really helps to galvanize my learning. And then putting it down on paper and in print really crystallizes that takeaway for me, right? Which then helps the clients. So yeah, you mentioned LinkedIn. I see that you have a very nice recognition from LinkedIn. You're top leadership development voice on LinkedIn. So congratulations. How did that come about? Like, how much effort did that take to be receive that recognition?
Well, that recognition is like, it was, to be honest, pretty easy. And I think they discontinuing that. But I think LinkedIn is a great platform for me. It's a great platform for collaboration. I know many people use it for different ways. And I tried different, I mean, I did try different things on LinkedIn, but now I've come to the conclusion that that's a place where I can meet interesting people, get connected on like conversations, online conversations, virtual meetings, like have some meaningful connections through LinkedIn, because these are the people who want this connection. I mean, there's no something you are on LinkedIn because you want to be connected to other people. So kind of have this mutual motivation helps to connect. And yeah.
No, very good, very good. Well, let's jump into systemic coaching for a moment, because a lot of people listening will have no idea what I'm referring to as systemic team coaching. And maybe we can set it up by saying a similar word is systems thinking, or when you talk about the whole systems approach, systemic is a similar concept to that. How did you first come to be interested in systemic coaching, and what's your exposure or experience so far in this field?
A great question. I had no idea what systemic team coaching and when I joined in the course. I joined the course for team coaching, which is
Right.
something that I was really interested in. Like you said, like I'm
Yeah.
leadership coaching and coaching is a good, great, amazing thing. But the future is with team coaching when we create strong teams that drive organizational growth.
Mm.
So I joined this course on team coaching, which was led by two amazing team coaches, Peter Hawkins and David Clutterberg. And they both are great. They have slightly different approach. Systemic team coaching resonated the most with me because it kind of broadens the perspective. It makes you think outside of like what you have right now. And that's what I see when I coach leaders. They talk about their challenges and they talk about like things they need to accomplish and their goals. But what I see is a broader organizational context that they cannot influence, or maybe cannot influence yet. And by working on the systemic level with stakeholders, multiple stakeholders and multiple levels of stakeholders, we can actually create a bigger impact. We're not only thinking about my employees, but I'm thinking about my managers and the managers of my managers, and even our clients. Even if we are far away from clients, we need to think about them and like create this connection. So, and it works both with like leadership coaching and obviously team coaching as well.
Yeah. It was my first introduction to this whole concept as well. And I'm I don't know if I'm a good student or a quick study, but I can't stop using the whole concept now. So our consulting practice is entirely built around, we start with looking at the holistic picture, the whole ecosystem, and we sort of zoom out before we then zoom back in. And so I'm a disciple now of systemic team coaching, and I really believe it's a great practice. And as you say, Peter Hawkins, David Clutterbuck, two fantastic mentors to have take us through this program. I went the same path as you and did the systemic coaching with Peter. But in the early stages with David as well, and David's been on the show, by the way, so he's shared some of his wisdom. So yeah, look, really fantastic. One day we'll have the opportunity and we'll do a co-coaching together, I'm sure. Have you done much practice with co-coaching under this systemic approach?
Well, whenever I can, I do try to coach with a co-coach, with a partner coach. And like as you know, and it's a great thing to do, to work with a coach, because I mean they can see things that like you don't see alone, because it's a group and there's certain dynamics happens in the groups. When you focus on one thing, the co-coach and partner can focus on other things. And it's also a great example of teamwork. Like we joining together a team, showing an example of teamwork, of listening and collaboration, which sets be like a role model for the team, how to be a great team.
Yeah. I think it's one of for me in my practice, I think it's one of the greatest findings I've had in the last few years when somebody else is there. It's like that catch-all, right? So you're focused on doing what you have to do as a coach, but having somebody else present as well really takes some of the pressure off you to be better at doing what you're doing, I find. So yeah, very similar impression. Let's speak a little bit directly now to the whole concept of working remotely. We'll nudge our way into this topic, but so not only focusing on the team aspect, but the whole remote concept, which of course is commonplace now. But you have an article or a caption on one of your sites, which I love, and it's an article or almost like an image showing the CEO from Goldman Sachs and the statement that he ordered his entire workforce back to the office and only 50% turned up. And I think that is just so true to what I'm hearing. I'm wondering, from your perspective, is that still the general response you're seeing from people that you're engaging with in business? That there's a real reluctance to return to the way it was prior to COVID?
I mean, I'd say it's different. Well, depends, obviously, depending on the market. People might not want to go back to their office, but if the market is tough, they will. Some people say, I want to go to the office. I want to or I want to be in the office 2 or 3 days a week, but I want to be able to work from home 2 to 3 days a week.
Right.
And for me, it's not about remote. It's about being flexible and being able to choose when you work and how you work. Because the most important thing is how you deliver value, how you create this impact for the organization, for the team. And once if you can do it remotely, do it remotely. If you want to go to the office, go to the office. But forcing people commute, forcing people sacrifice the flexibility. I mean, it might work for some period of time when the market is tough, but no, when there are other options, people will choose other options.
It's almost like they've opened Pandora's box, they've taken the lid off the genie bottle, and it's hard now to get everyone back to the way it was. And I can see both sides and the value of being in the office sometimes, but I can also understand, what it's like to have that, let's say, freedom, to be more relaxed and work in an environment that you feel more comfortable in. So, well, it's still an interesting observation point from looking from afar to see where it will end up, I think.
We'll see.
Let's go a step deeper then and start to look at some of the unique challenges, perhaps, as well as the opportunities when it now comes to those virtual or remote teams. And I know this is what you do a lot of your work around. Let's start with some of the perhaps more common issues that you're coming across in helping organizations deal with remote or virtual teams.
I think it's no surprise that the most common challenge is communication. Communication and relationship building. Things like, I feel like I'm isolated. I don't feel my team members. I don't know what they're doing. Lots of things that speak that people don't have that feeling of connection that they used to have in the office. The reason is that it's not the remote team is not working. It's not that you cannot have those connections. It means that you need to proactively build those connections in a bit different way than you would be doing that in the office. It's the whole new way of thinking about work dynamics and workplace when it's remote or hybrid rather than when it's offsite. And all those practices that we used to have in the office and just moving them into the Zoom, it's not gonna work. I mean, the whole work process needs to be reshaped with asynchronous communication and specific meetings and or at least parts of the meeting for social connection, proactively, consistently building those social connections with team members, connecting people with each other, not just manager, team member, so that manager is not a bottleneck for the team operations. They communicate with each other. So this kind of thing. So it's all about like how we structure communication and how we structure work processes in remote setting.
Mm. I could hear some undertones within what you're saying there, and one of them was trust. I think for many leaders, it's still difficult to not have somebody in an office, in a environment where I can walk down the corridor and I can see the person. Are they working? Are they looking at their computer? Are they doing something they shouldn't be? And now all of a sudden I don't have that access to them constantly. And being able to let go of that, I think initially was very, very hard for many leaders. You've developed a number of great tools, let's say, that can aid leaders in addressing many of the issues that they're facing. And I'd like to dive into a few of them, but just to name a couple that I came across, you have a 90-day program, and in that program, you have this CLICK, which is an acronym, five-letter acronym framework that really provides an opportunity for teams to function much more effectively. So I'd like to go into that. But you also developed a thing that I saw called the virtual team canvas. So, leveraging the marketing canvas concept, etc. And they work together, of course. It's the same thing, but in different formats. And then you also use a thing called the Game Changer Index. So maybe we can look at each one of those in turn. But if we start with the CLICK framework, if you don't mind, could you provide somewhat of an overview of what it is and how you use it?
Yeah, thanks. And CLICK is actually, I mean, it's something that helps leaders remember about the main pillars of like great teams. And CLICK stands for clarity of goals, linking relationships, integrated ways of working together, collaborative decision making, knowledge sharing, and feedback. And when teams have all of that, they'll form a high performing team. And well, clarity of goals is pretty clear. Like we all know how important the purpose is, mission, and understanding like why the team exists, because a team is defined by its purpose, not by the members. But when there is no purpose, there is no shared purpose, there is no team. So the first thing is this clarity of goals. And then linking relationship is something connected with the systemic perspective that we talked about before, because it's linking relationship within the team, but also relationship with the stakeholders and their stakeholders, and how team is connected to the stakeholders, not just through the manager or team leader, but like they all can reach out to their respective stakeholders and have these communications individually, and they all understand their stakeholders and build relationship with them. The next one is integrated ways of working together, is when team agree on team norms, how they communicate, how they work together, like how they handle their meetings, how they onboard new hires. Somehow teams don't do that, but like once you agree on how you want to work together, it becomes so much easier. Like this example where a team leader suddenly realized that one of the team members just freaks out when he calls on the phone. And like I said, why? I mean, I don't know. I just kind of natural reaction. I have no idea. I just feel that something's wrong, and I become nervous. So I said, okay. I mean, how can I help that? She said, just text me that you're going to call me on this and this. There's nothing urgent, nothing's broken, and I'll be prepared. And it worked. It's just so easy to talk about how you want to communicate with each other. And then the other point is collaborative decision making, when teams agree. Like, how do they make decisions? Is it leader who makes all the decisions and everyone is okay with it? Like, what kind of decisions they make together? Where do they need consensus? Where do they need voting? How do they move forward in their decision making? And finally, knowledge sharing and feedback. How team collects this feedback from their stakeholders, how they give feedback to each other, and how they mutually learn and support each other in team growth. So that's the framework.
And I was visualizing Peter Hawkins smiling as you were talking there, because there's a lot of his teaching wrapped up in how you've structured that. And very, very nice. when you go to apply this, like how does the application of the Click framework provide a result of accelerated performance? Like, what's the secret behind it?
If a team wants to use it on their own, they have this canvas which they can like go through, fill it in, discuss it as a team, usually like through several meetings when they talk about all those things. When I join a team and we start this conversation, we obviously start with discussing their goals and what they want to achieve. But then we don't necessarily go through each of those areas. We kind of focus, okay, where is the pain and where is the challenge? And start with the challenge. And once they have figured out, then they can see this great improvement. Like there was a, and they can change in different ways. I mean, for example, there was a team, it was a VC fund, and they had grown and they started to see those functional silos when like head of marketing is not talking to head of sales, there's head of finances, like you figure it out, I don't care. And they had this kind of blame, it's not a blame culture, but they started to blame each other for failures. And the founders really wanted to step up, to step out and not like doing any operational work anymore. So that what the team did is they actually decided that they need a CEO. And they mutually agreed that, okay, we need a CEO. Founders have selected a CEO, and then they worked in a different setting. So when team decides what to do next, they accept the changes, and then they can grow together. Yeah,
very nice. And I particularly like the last point, which is the knowledge sharing element of this model. I think it's an area that many teams, they may achieve what they think they need to achieve, but then they disband just as quickly as they came together, and they miss the opportunity for so much sharing. Now, because of the systemic nature, I'm guessing, of your approach, it's not a one-off knowledge sharing, it's a continuum. And so, at frequent points or at different moments during a project or the team being together, I'm guessing they're sharing their learnings, they're talking about things that are happening. Is that what you encourage?
And with one team, they went even further. They started sharing with the organization, and they became the subject matter experts for the organization because they started sharing this knowledge within the team. They had very different expertise on the team, and they started to like discuss and talk about it. And they really enjoyed that. They started to invite people in, and then they started doing that for the whole organization, and they sharing the project management practices for the whole company.
Very nice. Yeah. So anyone listening, I think this is a key tip for all leaders, is to make sure that there is this framework in place for you to learn as much as you can from the exercise. I mean, you're always going to go through some degree of pain in working together as a group. It's just human nature. We're unique, we're individual. But if we don't learn from the exercise, then there's so much wastage there. You have another relationship, at least, with this game changer index. And I didn't know anything about it until I was doing some preparation for our conversation. So I wonder if you could also introduce that a little bit for us, please, and just how would I use it myself as a leader, as a team member? What's the application?
I like this tool. I mean, it's ergonometric. It's an assessment where once taking the assessment, you can see the energy for impact in the organization. And it's not a psychometric, so it's not about your personality. You can be extroverted, introverted. You can be a driver within the DISC framework or whatever else. The thing is how you create impact in the organization. And there are 5 proclivities of how you can implement the most. How you can impact the most, which is the game changer. This is the people who are obsessive with new ideas. Like doing something different is what really, really drives them. find something new, and okay, forget about this, let's do something else. They're very creative, very I wouldn't say it's not so much as an innovative, but a kind of next step and next step and next step.
Right.
But then, and same comes with the startup. You have you have a great idea, you start a startup. But what do you need next? Next, you need someone who will actually take your ideas, those crazy, unframed ideas, and create a plan, a strategy, how you can implement them. Create a vision. Here is what we want to achieve, and here are the steps how we can get there. So these are the strategists. And then you need some people who are very action-oriented, who just get things done. And you can hear those people by saying, oh, stop talking, let's just do stuff already. You just stop those conversations. We need to start doing something. So they take this strategy and start implementing it and doing. And then you need polishers. Those are the people who are obsessed with like, let's do it even better. And I can do it even better. And innovation is here. Continuous improvement is here. And sometimes perfectionist is also here. But I mean, these are the people who make it better and even better and ask for feedback from the customers and use it to make the product better. And there is the fifth one, which is the playmakers. And the playmakers are those who connect people together. And they just feel so good when they manage to connect with someone, or when they connect game changing strategists, playmaker and implementer. Like all those people working together as a team, that's what drives the playmaker. And when you look at your organization, your team, or project, a different parts of organization or different stages of the project, you might need different type of energy. Like you setting up a transformation, what do you need to start with? Probably you want to start with some, let's think of what we can do, and you invite game changes. Or maybe let's talk to our stakeholders and like find out their needs, and you invite playmakers. So depending on like what your organization is doing and like what you want to do next, you need different energy and you can invite different people. And when you look at the team perspective, like for example, we have a product team, and there are a lot of game changers there in the product team, and they constantly think of something. Okay, here is this great feature, and we can also do this. And I mean, no wonder they do not release on time, because they're constantly thinking of some new ideas, but the implementers are not heard. There are some implementers on the team, but they're just not heard, and they do not deliver on time. So as a leader, when you see the dynamics of the team and you see all the different like voices and energies on the team, make sure all the voices are heard. And when you have too much game changes, make sure your implementers are talking and kind of manage this team dynamics.
And when you do the questionnaire, the assessment, does it highlight more than just your dominant self? Like, does it give you maybe a secondary or another perspective of, when I'm not the game changer, I often fall into this role? Does it provide that type of feedback?
So it basically shows your score on each 5 of those. And and there are 2 main proclivities that actually define most of your decisions and how you create impact. But you see the score for all of those, and you kind of see where you're low at and where you might need support from your team members, and then think of how you can leverage your strengths to support your low energy areas.
Right. So I'm visualizing, I don't know if you ever used the Belbin team model.
Yeah.
An old tool from the 80s, but in the Belbin model, they create a matrix for a team, and I'm visualizing there would be something similar for a team that participates in the game changer study as well. Or
like in the Belbin, there are teams that you need to have on the team. And game changer can actually help you find those people on the team, because if you need some like resource investigator, that's most probably a playmaker energy is there. So you kind of can match the energy to the role. Right.
Yeah, fascinating. I'll have to do some more research on it for sure, but it looks.
I'll introduce you to them.
I'm sure. Do you combine the two? Like, do you combine the Click framework as well as the GCI in your program or in the work that you're doing?
I like to start when it's possible. I like to start with assessment, like leaders assessment, and then we do the team workshop. It kind of opens up the conversation. When people see something visual and they see
Yeah.
those different energies and different types of people they have on the team,
Mm.
and that reveals the challenges that they want to overcome. And then we kind of start with this assessment and team workshop, and then move forward with the click framework as a way to build a great team.
Very nice. I know it's impossible to give a concrete timeline, but what's your experience in working with teams? Does it normally take 6 months, 12 months? Like, is there a standard or an average you've experienced in taking a team that's performing at an average level and creating that high performing value creation team?
Well, I can't say that there's a check mark. Okay, now you are a high performing value creation team. There's always like opportunities for growth.
Absolutely.
But usually the work takes like, it's definitely not less than 4 months, because otherwise you just cannot digest the changes and implement something and see some results.
Mm.
In most cases, it's around like 6 months. Some
Mm.
teams I've been working with for 9 months, and I don't think I worked with any team for more than 9 months, because I really want them to be able to operate on their own and learn to self-develop as a team.
Again, Peter is smiling at you, right? That's our role, is to actually work ourselves out of a job and let the organization start to self-manage themselves. So what's the future looking like? So if we now look at AI as an example, and the progress with AI, what's the impact you see it having within the coaching arena, within consulting, if we look broader than just the coaching?
I'm a technological optimist. I do believe AI can really make a positive change in the way we work, and in the way we work. And I see the huge benefit of it might be when we can analyze the skills people have, and we can analyze the skills organization needs, and we can match people to skills or develop people like in terms of skills, not in terms of roles. Like you can have any type of role, but I mean, that requires different types of skills, but maybe you don't need to fit one person into this role, kind of trying to push them. You can fit people into skills and just let them do what they can be good at, and not make them do stuff that they don't have energy to do. And AI can actually do that analysis and understanding of matching people to organization, to skills. And the other thing is learning. I mean, I know a company that does great things about coaching and training with AI. When someone works with an AI coach, for example, in presentation skills, doing a presentation, get some feedback from AI, trains, practice again. And then this comes to a human coach or a human facilitator that gives kind of analyzes AI responses and gives human to human feedback. And this is a great collaboration. I don't see AI eliminating people's jobs. I mean, some, yes, but mostly it's enhancing and making us more productive and helping us do more meaningful work or achieving results faster.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. We try and marry the two as well. So, you know, it's part of the future. We want to stay modern and offer our clients the AI if they have an interest in that, as well as then marry that with the human coaching. And, you know, the feedback we're getting at the moment is that they like that flexibility. They like the opportunity if they need support in that moment, not having to wait for the human coach, but then having the backup of the human coach to come in and, you know, have that interaction is still something that we're finding people enjoy. So I can see it happening the way you suggest there. Hey, one thing just occurred to me. How do we define high performing teams or high performing cultures within an organization? If I come and I start talking to a leader and I say, Well, let's look at your team. Let's start to look at how we can make their performance, even better. How do you frame that for the leader, or how does the leader start to frame that?
I mean, when I talk to leaders, like there are two scenarios. The one is I see that something's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it's obviously, it could be conflict. It could be I have a feeling that something is wrong, but I cannot articulate that. And the other one, I believe we can be better, or I want us to be better,
Right.
or we have a goal that we need to achieve. I mean, there was a leader who said, I want to be a number one in the region. I want my team to be number one in the region. I have ambitious goals. I believe we can create, like we can do great work. I believe we can serve our customers. Like we provide great service to our customers. I want to be number one. And we're not there yet. How can we be that? How we can reach that goal? So like being a high performing team is not a goal in itself.
Right.
What is that you want to create? What is the purpose of your team and how you fulfill that purpose?
And I guess the same could be applied to value creation. So how do we then identify that the team is actually at that point of being recognized by the stakeholder as value creating in the purpose of what they're working as a team for? So it could be the same answer, I guess.
Yeah.
What haven't we spoken about so far in this? It's such a huge topic, and we've just scratched the surface, I know, but when you think about the work you're doing and some of the situations you've experienced, anything that we haven't touched on that you think is relevant or important that we should talk about before we wrap up?
I really want to share one thing, and I came to realization of that like quite recently, is that there is a problem of good leaders. And the problem, like the good leaders are facing this problem more often than like not so good bad leaders, is when they're trying to build relationship with their team members and they're having all those one-to-one conversations. They're supporting them, they're asking what they need, and they're there for them, which is great and it is amazing. The problem is when you have, I don't know, 5, 10 people on the team and you pay attention to each of those people. And you also have something that your stakeholders expect from you in terms of strategy and innovation and other things. And you have no time for that. And that leads to burnout. And I have seen leaders like, what do? I cannot. I mean, I need to support my people, but I cannot do that. And the answer is, okay, don't support your people, support your team, and create connection between those individual team members so that they first reach to each other and get support from each other rather from you. And it's good for them because instead of one person that can support them, they have 5, 10 people that can support them, not just you as a leader. And that's like remote work kind of showed it that it's harder for managers to connect team members with each other. And that's what they need to focus on. How do you connect your team members with each other so that they reach to themselves for help and then to you as a leader?
Yeah, that's a wonderful observation, actually. And I also imagine, that leader is most likely a team member of a larger team as well, or another team.
Absolutely.
And so the ecosystem continues, and the burnout is real, the stress is real. And your point is excellent that you need to create that environment where the team is collaborating and not reliant on that hierarchical structure that we used to have and that we no longer have that opportunity for in many cases, right? So it's now a more of a nucleus or a network that needs to be self-sufficient, not just expecting that one person. So great observation. You just made me realize something else, but I've now forgotten it. So we'll let that go. But I don't remember what it was. Sorry. One of the things that we see a lot is the global team challenges, and largely because of language, culture, time differences, and then you have somebody who's appointed as the leader who may not have that exposure themselves to dealing with a global environment. Do you come across that very often?
I do work with some global teams. And the question they ask is, how do you approach different cultures? And I mean, to be honest, I say, don't approach different cultures, approach different people. I mean, within a team, we don't need to be like to have deep knowledge about how Asian culture is different from the Western culture. Like, look at you have different people with different preferences, different personalities in each region, in each culture, and you have no idea how this person grew up. So look at the individuals. I mean, it's okay to look at 5, 10 individuals and adjust your leadership style to them rather than to the whole culture.
I love that. Great advice. So, because I know a lot of people ask this question, and I love that answer. I think, treat the team as people to start with. Get to learn and know the people. It's going to solve a large number of the issues. Yeah. May not solve every issue, but it'll solve a large number. So tell me, what are you doing at the moment? Are you working on anything? You got any books in the pipeline, perhaps?
I do. I decided to write a book in 2020, I think. I've tried once, I stopped, dropped it. Then I took it on again in 2022, didn't finish it. Now in 2024, I promise you that I will finish and publish it next year. And today is a great milestone for me. I finished my first draft. I know there is lots of work to do. There's lots of opportunities for improvement, for kind of wanting to drop it and stop working on it. But I will keep working on it, and I will publish it next year. And obviously, it's a book about teams. Yeah.
Yeah. I was just going to say, are we allowed to know what it's about? So it's about teams.
Yeah, it's about how high-performing teams, how great teams can support organizational growth. And it's mostly about examples from my work with companies that rapidly grew from, 200 up to 700, 900 people. And they start seeing changes with like broken communications, functional silos, like some culture is being changed, culture is changing, and they're not as fast as they used to be. So how great teamwork can actually support organizational growth and not stop it.
Yeah. So I'm going to hold you to that. I'm going to check in and make sure the draft is moving closer to release. We may have to come back together once it's about to release and have another discussion. So I look forward to that. Where can people go and learn more about what you're doing, engage with you?
I think the best place is still LinkedIn. I'm pretty active. I open to conversations, to connections. Obviously, you can check out my website, which is dariarudnik.com, and you can chat with my AI coach, Aidra. But if we really want to connect, LinkedIn is the best place.
Okay. All right. We'll put the links in the notes. But Daria, great conversation. We've only scratched the surface as expected, but hopefully it's given people a flavor of some of the things that you're doing and some of the possibilities of what team coaching is able to bring to the table. So I think it's really valuable for everybody. Team coaching, creating teams that are higher performing, value creating, for me, is the future. Teams have been around a long time. Now more so than ever, with the remote team environment, being able to bring that effectiveness to the bottom line is something that probably isn't going to happen just by chance. And I think you leveraging the work that you're doing and others are doing will certainly make a big impact. So thank you for that, and thank you for being on the ET project. It's been great conversation.
Thank you, Ben. It was a great pleasure. I love the questions. I mean, they made me think. Thank you so much. Yeah.
I appreciate that. So from one coach to another, thank you for sharing that. So, all right, all the best, and we'll keep in touch.
So what are you waiting for? Hit the subscribe button below and click on the bell icon so I can pop up in your feed occasionally with a great tip for your ultimate growth.